Public hearing is now called to order at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, May 28th of 2019. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was published in the applicant on May 23, 2019, and was also posted in the town clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. So we're going to start with approving the minutes of the April 9th meeting. Remember, those didn't have any changes to suggest. So I think okay, somebody wants to make a motion to approve.
I'm not sure if I wasn't attending to that.
Who was there?
Maybe
Yes, Paul was absent. Everybody else was there.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Second that?
All right, in favor? One abstain, okay, so that's set. The meeting mail and a few items here from, mostly related to proposed electrical utility transmission line maintenance from Mendel Road southeast and out towards the town line. So, I know that was sent to us from Ty and Bond. There's a
Yeah, that
couple-
came in a while ago, but I thought you might want to see the maps,
Yeah,
because it shows the,
all right, so there's one from, well, I mean, it's funny, this one.
yeah, it's from Time Bond, but for some
It's
for some
from
reason they
Eversource.
tied that one in with me.
Yeah, it's funny though, it's Deer White's fine representative.
You know, I think it must have come to Town Hall.
So anyway, so they're doing work that they have to do along their transmission lines, and, you know, these are things that are outside the jurisdiction of the commission. You know, it says here, this work is exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act. Let me try that again in English. Wetlands Protection Act in accordance with 310 Chapter Mass Regs 10.02 to A2, as it consists of activities conducted to maintain, repair, or replace, but not substantially change or enlarge an existing lawfully located structure used in the service of the public and used to provide electric services, provided said work utilizes the best practical measures to avoid and minimize impacts to wetland resource areas outside the footprint of said structure. And these folks always do that. They put down straw mats and everything else they need to do with, you know, if they're driving through areas that are soggy,
Yeah.
just for the purposes of the camera over there. You can see where some of the work areas are. And go in and that's the stuff they have to do. And there's pretty pictures of the actual land itself. We have a longer agenda, and if anyone wants to see this in detail, can certainly grab it from me and have a look. Otherwise, I'm going to proceed. And then, the other thing, fiscal impacts of land use from UMass Amherst. So there's been a couple of studies done by the American Farmland Trust. There's a couple of different versions of it here by authors, Helena Murray and Paul Catanzaro. Actually both published by UMass Amherst, and it's up-to-date cost of community services analyses for Massachusetts communities. So what they did was they looked at the cost of land in conservation status and then compared it to what that might look like if it were developed, and what are the cost of town services. And once again, it comes up with the conclusion that in most cases, if you're building houses and all those kinds of things, it ends up costing the town money. So for every tax dollar you're getting, you're probably spending more in community services. It changes a little bit when it's commercial property. But there's not enough of that in town here, is there? No. Anyway, so those are here. If anybody's really curious, you can grab these from me or take a look online and just look up fiscal impacts of land use in Massachusetts. All right, so we have no old business, so we're going to go on to new business. So our first RDA is from Acushnet Company for Slocum Street. A request for determination of applicability is filed by Acushnet Company for property located at 4 Slocum Street, map 25, lot 24. The applicant proposes soil and groundwater site investigation work and sampling. The applicant is represented by Kyle Pigeon of Woodard and Curran. So, turn it over to you guys.
Sure.
I'm Kyle Pigeon from Woodard and Curran, our datum office, and Kevin Kelly's here from the Acushnet company. Does anyone need an extra copy of the figures or something like another copy? Or something?
I'm gonna hold mine up for the camera.
So this is a request for determination of applicability for, as you mentioned, soil and groundwater investigations on this property in Ball Plant site located on Slocum Street. It's taking place, this is a site, a contaminated site under the Massachusetts contingency plan, so it's under the jurisdiction of Mass DEP, and EPA also has jurisdictions and has been weighing in on the sampling plan of this site. There have been a number of investigations that have taken place at the site, soil and groundwater investigations going back as early as 2007, even earlier. And all designed to understand the nature and the extent of the impacts around the site. This particular investigation is a continuation of some of this work to help refine and understand some gaps in the understanding on the site. So it's really filling in some pieces of the data that aren't entirely understood. So some of these locations that are shown in the map, it's going to be strictly soil borings that will be driven into the subsurface. And in some cases, it's just looking to see whether there's debris present in the subsurface. They'll map that out. In other locations, soil samples will be collected, sent to a laboratory for analytical testing to understand the chemistry. And then there's also locations where groundwater wells will be installed for sampling or for understanding the hydrology on the site. So there's been previous investigations that have taken, like I mentioned, there's previous investigations in these areas. They haven't extended as far into the wetlands as these investigations will. So that's the primary difference. It will require drilling equipment to get into these areas in order to collect these samples and install the wells. So the temporary, sort of fairly minor impacts that are going to be taking place are really from mowing and trimming and moving aside and clearing brush to access these locations so that the drilling equipment can get back into these areas. So the light green paths that are shown on that figure will be cleared using essentially a brush cutter to clear the herbaceous material. There's, those paths have been designed to dodge some of the larger trees and to dodge some of the more difficult terrain. And the mowing will be kept to a minimum, and the width of the paths will be no greater than 8 feet or less if that's manageable. And so the contractor that will be doing the mowing will be monitored by Woodard and Kearney, and to minimize that impact, minimize the number of turns made, minimize the number of trees and branches that need to be trimmed so that the drilling equipment can access those areas. There's a few locations, I'll call it the medium green in the wetlands, sort of on the bottom part of that figure, are areas that are very wet. They're much wetter areas. The ground is entirely saturated. And those are areas where there'll be swamp mats used to access through the marshy areas. Typically those are Phragmites marshes. So that's all work that will happen over the course of a day, essentially. Mats will be laid down, the equipment will move out, and let the samples move back out and remove the mats behind them. And then
who was the on-site rep that day, you know?
Actually, who the individual will be?
No, who was there when we had the on-site meeting?
Oh, that was Andrea Eaton.
Andrea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's the project manager, and she's really in charge of the site investigation that's taking place.
The LSP on the job is Lisa Camp.
So then just to wrap up the other portion of the clearing work that'll happen. There's a small area in sort of the upper right-hand portion of the investigation area, very dark green, where there's some slightly larger trees that need to be cleared. There just happen to be some denser tree cover in that area, so the drilling equipment will require a little more space. Two types of drilling equipment will be used. There's a geoprobe. Folks are familiar with those. It's essentially a small tracked unit. Not a lot bigger than this table, probably not as long as this table, maybe a little wider. That essentially goes in, it's remote controlled, and that goes in to punch the holes in to collect the soil samples. It's a rubber tracked unit. And then there's a larger tracked unit that will be used to install some of the groundwater wells, because that just requires a larger drill to create a larger hole, essentially, so that the wells are more effective and have a better connection with the aquifer. So it'll be two separate mobilizations. None of the equipment will be left in the wetlands, it will be left on the paved areas on the site overnight. And any fueling or maintenance or anything along those lines will taking place on paved areas outside of resource areas. With spill kits on hand, and all of the contractors will be notified in advance that they're working in resource areas, working in wetlands, and that every effort made to minimize the amount of turning, the amount of ground disturbance, that type of thing. In the event that there's any soil that's disturbed, that'll be raked out. There'll be a native seed mixture that will be applied and mulch. So, are there any questions?
Yeah, just curious, so it looks like you have 11 proposed groundwater monitoring well locations.
Mhm.
And there's 2 of those, one's in and one's close to the parking lot, and the rest are in wetland spots. I'm just curious as to actually get 12. How many, how did you choose these?
The locations are based on the previous investigations of the site, essentially, the distribution of contaminants in groundwater and areas where we need to understand some of the hydrology.
So some of this will be able to give you, will enable you to compare this to past results. Is that right?
That's right. And there's some wells that need to be replaced on the site, so older wells. And all of these locations were a negotiation essentially with the agencies.
Yeah, it's really building on or supplement to all the past investigations we've done, which is quite a bit. A lot of borings, a lot of wells on that site. And these are primarily to address perceived data gaps that EPA has.
That's exactly what the project manager mentioned. There were just gaps in the data. We're trying to fill in some of those gaps.
So these aren't necessarily replacing old ones, they're
In some
adding
cases,
to the base.
there are a couple of replacements, but in most cases, it's new data points.
There's 180 total, roughly, that's, if I remember right.
All the borings.
Within 30.
33 borings. And I should mention,
Pretty ambitious project.
we didn't differentiate on this map, just to limit the numbers on there, but there are certain ones where you see that there's no paths leading to them. Those will likely be done by hand because they're really wet areas. And some of those borings may or may not be completed. There's a suite of borings that are designed to understand the extent of debris on the site. And if we find the edge, you don't need to keep going. Essentially,
Yeah,
it's to refine the edge.
incrementally go out until they hit the edge, which I'm sure is an edge, and stop there, so we'll have to do more.
So this sort of represents the maximum borings that we collected.
So can you tell us if you found anything so far, as far as contamination goes?
Well, there is contamination there, and that's what we're addressing, delineating,
All right, so that's what.
forming the nature and extent. Fairly low levels, from what we're seeing so far, but EPA EPA wants to make sure that, you know, no stone is left uncovered and that we look everywhere and make sure we get a full story of the site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems pretty obvious. They want you to cover everything. So, do you know who the contractor's gonna be yet?
Yes, there's two drilling contractors, GeoSearch
Mm-hmm.
and New England Geotech. And they have different equipment available, essentially, is what it comes down to. They're both reputable environmental drilling firms that
Great.
do this kind of work all the time. It's pretty routine.
I think GeoSearch we've used quite a bit on that site in the past, so they're familiar with the drill.
They work in sensitive environments. They're familiar with minimizing cross contamination and minimizing events.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do.
Great.
These monitoring wells, is that asphalt covered or is that just the picture made? It seemed like those will be.
It's a gravel crushed stone parking area next to further off the chunk there. There's a storage.
Self-storage. Got the docker shade of paper.
Anybody else have questions for Mr. Vision and Mr. Kelly?
No, just for the project manager that day, she was very helpful. She covered a lot of material. She protected us as well from the environment there that day. She was pretty. She had all the gear on.
Yeah, ships look pretty bad.
Yeah.
And that's really a big part of this is just clearing up poison ivy, clearing out the habitat for workers. So.
Yeah, they have a nice little setup for lunch or something, I guess, right over here somewhere. And, as far as the people who work in the main building now. And so I'm sure they appreciate it if you're clearing out tick habitat,
I think it's,
Okay. Any further questions for this gentleman in that case?
I don't have anything.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for negative determination for this project.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstaining? Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Couple of open seats, if anybody wants to sit, we can also push a chair out if you want.
I'm sorry, what?
that's a chair of it.
Push a chair out if anybody wants to sit.
Yeah, there's plenty of
I
seating
know Chris is
here.
up next
Anybody
to
wants to join us?
All right, nobody wants to be in the front row apparently. I don't blame you. All right, next is another RDA for Antonio and Belinda Afonso, Main Street, map 8, lot 13D. A request for determination of applicability was filed by Antonio and Belinda Afonso for property located at Main Street, map 8, lot 13D. The applicant proposes grading of a lawn area for a new single-family dwelling within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland and isolated wetland. The applicant is represented by Christopher Capone. Mr. Capone, floor is yours.
Thank you. Is this okay? I know you got the camera there. Would you want me to go behind you?
Yeah, it'd be ideal. You can actually,
I can just present it behind
sorry.
you.
Yeah.
my head was a little flouty, the rest of it.
Paul, you want that one? Okay, where's the base pass? You guys want to sign them all up again?
All right.
Yeah.
That works. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Christopher Capone, a wetlands consultant. I'm here this evening representing Antonio and Belinda Afonso. This lot had a previous order of conditions. The Afonsos bought this from Costello's Homes, and I believe Joe had a order of conditions to do some of the work on this site. So when you went to the site for the site visit, there was a prior cleared area, and there's also an existing cart path, laneway that went into it. The previous delineation from that filing had a wetland area down along this property, or this end of the property, C10 to C18, this being going out to Main Street, this coming in, into the property. There's also an isolated vegetated wetland flag within this cart path area and stretching between, there's an adjacent property here and this lot 13D. Those delineations, I think, were viewed by the members at that site visit. What we're proposing here is just grading in the buffer zone. As you can see, this is the 100-foot buffer zone. From that BVW, the home is completely out of that. This isolated wetland was not jurisdictional, but however, we've located it, protected it with silt fence in the both resource areas, and tried to keep all our work away from it as much as we could. So we're looking to get a negative determination from the commission this evening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You wanna lead us off?
Well, I just want to point out that the existing cart path is access to the property behind this property because it's owned by the land trust.
Right, I learned that afterwards, correct, I wasn't aware of that, right?
Okay. Beyond that, I mean, it's not an existing lawn area, it's existing cleared area,
Mm-hmm.
but otherwise, you know, it's pretty straightforward
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, it would be ideal if there's a way to, when we have that cart path, that access to that land trust land has to be kept open, maintained, and that's not your responsibility.
Is that deeded onto
It is.
this prospective property?
It's
I hope
supposed to
so.
be.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I know that I was told, and you had mentioned it, but I just want to make the folks aware of the situation so they know that at times you may see people parking and walking up the path.
Yeah,
It's minimal traffic, but it does belong to
That's
the land
fine,
trust.
that's
And this was the whole thing when Joe bought that land and it got subdivided. And he wasn't thrilled by the concept, but it's part of the deal.
That's part of the deal, okay,
It's-
perfect.
People have to be able to access that property.
And it's a seasonal access, if I may say, as well.
Yeah.
Because when I was there, you probably could get through it, but it still was a little inundated with that little ponding area, that the central portion, which
You
is
don't
right about
walk
there.
through without boots at the moment.
Right, right.
Okay.
yeah, and I don't know how many people actually go back there,
Mm-hmm.
but.
It's available for them to
Yeah,
do
they
that,
have
correct.
access.
Yep, perfect.
So for those of you that were there, any questions, comments, concerns? It's
No.
nice that this is basically outside of the buffer zone. So, all right, what's that?
That land trust.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, somewhere,
Everett wasn't there then.
because there's a home here, so it's gotta be off to this location.
All right, in that case, I'll take a motion to, for a negative determination.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, wait a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Abstaining, opposed, right, that's unanimous.
Thank you all. We'll see you again, have a good night.
And we have stuff we're supposed to be signing.
You want to sign them all at the end.
All right, yeah, we'll sign them at the end, I'm okay with that. All right. We have an NOI for Benjamin Reese, Labonte Street, map 15, lot 456. Notice of intent was filed by Benjamin Reese for property located at Labonte Street, map 15, lot 456. The applicant proposes to construct Labonte Street from Pembroke Avenue, 495 feet southerly, including the installation of sewer and water services within the 11-foot buffer zone through bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by Allen Ewing Engineering Incorporated. That plan name is Proposed Road Profile and Utilities at Labonte Street dated April 5, 2019.
Good evening, Al Ewing, Ewing Engineering, got the,
Take those.
Thank you.
we've got a 3-lot subdivision here, and it's on a paper street called Labonte Street. And this is Pembroke Avenue, Main Street's down here, comes up, it's on the right-hand side. And this paper street comes down to Eversource property here, and eventually PJ Keating. So this is all headed due south, as you can see. So, we had the wetlands line flagged all along here, and it comes out into the paper street and goes right down there. Kinda loops around. This lot over here is owned by the town, and it looks like it's all wetlands there. So what we're proposing is to put in a paved street down to this point, which is approximately almost 500 feet. And the planning board wants us to put in 18-foot wide paved street, and then we're gonna have a 1-foot berm on this side here, and then a 4-foot sidewalk. So we're going to have to clear the road, and because we have wetlands here, we're gonna put a silt fence, which is labeled here, 394 feet of silt fence, right down to here. 'Cause that gets us, this is the only portion that's out of the buffer zone here. And then we have 2,852 feet of lost area because we're actually in the wetlands, which was going to provide us to get to the upland area here. So we're going to put sewer down the middle of the road and 8-inch ductile iron water main down the left-hand side of the road to a hydrant. And the sewer's gonna come to this manhole so that we can have sewer and water services for the 3 houses that will be built in the future. Because we have a lost area over here, we're proposing a replication area in this area and of equal area. So that's the proposal here. I believe Steve Schmiel prepared a planting report for that area.
I'd have to check the file, I haven't seen it.
It was part of the NOI application.
Oh, okay. Good, good.
I have it in my email.
What's in here? Let's see. The butters. Yep, wetland replication procedures right here. I'm sorry, I should have printed this out for you guys. I haven't looked at that file in a while.
So he went into detail on how he's gonna do all that. So that's our basic proposal. The road profile isn't gonna change a heck of a lot. We have to do some filling through this area, but it's pretty much following the existing ground areas there.
Tell me about drainage.
Well, this entire road, as you can see on this cross-section, is all gonna slope from west to east.
Into the wetland.
Yes. So we're gonna keep everything on our property. And the profile goes down from this high point here and then goes down to this low point over here. So it's just gonna be sheet flow off the paved road.
You're not gonna do any treatment of any sort before it goes directly into the wetlands?
We hadn't planned on anything because it was, it's not really a large area that we're disturbing.
It's a lot more impervious surface.
True, but this is tiny compared to the volume of that wetlands area there.
But then you're gonna add all this impervious surface with 3 houses and driveways and whatever else they get.
Well, those places there, we can put dry wells in for the roof runoff and so forth.
So anything that runs, I go home with my car and I've ripped a hole in my oil pan. All that oil is gonna end up in the wetland.
This is on your way home.
Fresh paved road, no potholes, no rips in the oil thing.
No,
Could have happened
but-
on our way.
Right, I've done it, I didn't do it in my own driveway, but I did leak oil all the way back to town hall. Yeah, the entire, almost blew up my car. Luckily I didn't blow that one up.
No, we don't have any provisions in here for oil, gas, separators, collection type things.
And nothing to pick up the cigarette box or the trash or anything?
We're hoping people had more sense than that. We just tried to keep things as simple as possible, and my thoughts were a little bit of water headed off all the way down is better than to have it concentrated.
But it's not gonna head off, you just said it's all heading to that low point, which is right next to the wetland.
Well, you're gonna have the water going off that side of the road faster than it's gonna run down.
But it will run down?
Well, that's the
It's
idea.
leaning that way, right?
Yeah, we have, I mean, we could make it flat, but you'd have to do a lot more filling.
What would you do?
But the slope is
Put in a detention
quite flat.
basin.
Um,
Yeah, something to slow it down, you know, let it settle out a little bit.
You're proposing, so the road's gonna end here.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. Yeah, this is what we call a hammerhead. We're actually gonna have a turnaround easement here. So any vehicle can come down. Yes, delivery trucks and so forth.
Will be wide enough for two? Two cars?
Yes,
Yeah.
18 feet wide, yeah.
4 foot sidewalk.
Yeah, which side is the sidewalk on?
It's on the west side here. There's 18 feet of pavement, and then there's gonna be a Cape Cod berm, and then a 4-foot sidewalk.
Now there's a stream that comes in from the other side of Pembroke, right?
There's a drainage pipe here.
Yes, that's actually existing town drainage, on the site that I think I pointed out, there's a 18-inch round concrete pipe that dumps water in from the other side of Pembroke.
Mm-hmm.
Into that wetland area.
Yes.
Does it run through that property or does it just dissipate on the Pembroke side? Around there?
No,
Just-
it runs,
There's it starts way up at like Acushnet Street, which would be somewhere over here, and then it runs down and comes around, comes in here. It would get blocked up here, but there's that pipe that lets it run through here. It kind of runs its course. I think you were there the day of the site visit.
Yeah, I didn't know how
Kind of
far
gets
it went
swirled
in.
around.
Does it go out that far?
Yes, and then it dumps out back here, which is the power companies.
right, and then it continues to run, actually, there's the whole Phragmites area in the right of way. And then it goes up, like it comes from like behind cams and stuff like that. And goes,
Yes, yeah, like a little up further, and then eventually runs into the quarry.
right, exactly.
So that'll be undisturbed.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, the flow of water will be undisturbed, you'll still be able to get around.
They're planning, it's intermittent, so that's why it's not on the plan, it's just considered BBW when it's intermittent.
Contour lines, and the proposed house lots, those are just current resident, the elevation, those are just,
It's all existing.
All right, is anybody here about this project that would like to ask questions of Mr. Young? We should, there were neighbors here, they had a chance to ask questions. Okay. I'm just trying to propose a way to deal with this little bit of runoff, just to slow this down to catch it without digging up more. I'm not an engineer, so nothing great's coming to my idea.
Do you have to have the hammerhead at the end? Can you move it to the property line? And then put a detention basin at the end of the
Yeah.
road instead?
Down
No,
here.
this property line.
Here?
Yeah, do you have to have your frontage in front like that, or can it go
Yeah, you gotta
to the
have.
side?
You gotta have
At the end of the road.
some, right.
But the road can't bend.
Curve?
No, I'm not sure.
I mean, if you cut it off at the property line,
Mhm.
right there, and then instead of going straight down the line, it came up a little bit into the lot
Yeah.
C? Yeah, then you'd have that space where the hammerhead is now, and on the road, to put some kind of a detention basin in or something.
Yeah,
Catch
usually
rain.
it's for the fire chief, they want it at the end of the road to be able to turn around emergency vehicles.
Right, but I mean, aren't you just gonna hook the driveway for that house into that hammerhead now?
It's probably gonna go right off of here.
Right, so why can't you do that over this way?
My guess is, I'm
Be
Next
more-
not
is off
speak-
the property.
not
More-
speaking for the fire department, but I'm guessing they're gonna want this to be somewhere in the middle of that lot, rather than over here, so they can clearly get in there if they need to. I'm just thinking about the vehicles. But I see your point about is there room at the end here
Yeah.
for a detention basin that way?
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
thing is, where do we send that?
Yeah, but the-
Well, the detention basin it can just sit there and settle through.
The bulk of the water is from this portion of the road, yep. After you get past this,
above the water. Like, yeah, because this is lining up here.
yeah, this is downhill here, and then this is uphill here, so this is the low point for 400 feet of road. This is only 100 feet. And this is actually out of the buffer zone here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you could put a catch basin in
But then we're back to disturbing more of the area.
there, yeah, but at least you could collect some silt for cigarette butts and oil.
A catch basin that the town could come by and collect the stuff from. That's
Exactly, yeah.
Rebel, that's it.
Normally, you thinking that's here, right at the flag line?
For the catch basin?
Yeah, put that here at the flag line, but this is gonna be the low spot of this part running in. It's probably not as much of a problem of water dripping off that so much as from those three lots. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, actually, I don't know, I hadn't considered a catch basin. I mean, yeah, the catch basin. But yeah, I would think you'd wanna put it in the low spot, wouldn't you?
Yeah, which is down here. Right here. You could put a deep sump catch basin, put a hood on it, keep the oil from going out, so forth.
That would help.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's just going straight down as opposed to.
it would be right on the edge of the road, we wouldn't have to really increase the lost area at all.
Right. Yeah, anything to do that, I would think we wouldn't factor that into replication anyway.
Right. Yeah.
That is part of the replication, isn't
No, if we have them add in, just say they were cutting
Was
it,
it-
over-
it's
cutting the
cut-
wetland a little bit over here to put in a
it? It's still within
catch.
the
catch
driveway,
basin.
oh, the street rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actual green
Wouldn't
would be
expand
in
that
the
way.
pavement.
I think put that one into the water line now.
Well, one way or another, it's gonna get into this soil, but if we get a way to slow it down, especially any contaminants, that's the best.
Is the water line gonna
Situation.
go right down the middle of the street?
Oh, you're thinking the actual
He's
pipe.
thinking
Yes,
the
yes,
town.
the actual
I'm
pipe.
thinking
The
Town
sewers,
water.
flag line, I guess.
Right,
Word-
that's right.
word usage.
the sewer's down the middle of the road, and then the water line's off to the right-hand side. But we could get around it. Maybe like 2 feet, get around. You could actually bend the water line.
Yeah, we've drawn it this way. I was under the understanding that we weren't required to do drainage because it was under 4 lots. And then just thinking that there's already drain water from the streets running in, and Pembroke doesn't have drains at all, so that water's already coming in, untreated, if you will.
Right, but that doesn't,
And there's,
that doesn't mean you should add more.
No,
You know,
but-
I mean, cause at some point, the town is probably gonna have to deal with what's running into this wetland from Pembroke as well. You know,
deal with the drainage water.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, yes, at some point, if the commission doesn't ask them, I'll ask them myself. If it starts looking like the wetland is getting contaminated, then, you know, I'll be knocking on Dan's door asking him to fix it, you know? We don't have that many wetlands left.
It's always cheaper to put
And keep in mind, the next two filings are on this exact same wetlands, just up on the other side. So those are two more houses and more pavement.
So I would say, what's here right now is fine, but I like the idea of adding in sort of a catch basin. I know a little spot to, just to give this stuff a chance to slow down and get filled it out. And then also give the town a chance to come in periodically.
You give you detail of that.
That'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
The only change I see necessary.
Okay, that works for me. Okay, so that's a condition for the notice, I mean, for the order.
Yes.
And one sub-one replication, is that the norm on that site?
Sometimes we've done two in one, I think, like this. This is more of a, I'm okay with the one in this case. Just wanna make sure we get the wording right before I take a motion here. So I'll entertain a motion to issue a positive order of conditions with the additional condition being that, Housing Engineering provides a detail for a catch basin to be located, on the lowest part of the road. And, I think that'll do it. So, do you want me to reword that so it's clear?
I make a
Yes,
motion
please.
for a
Well,
positive.
So positive order of conditions with the additional condition being that Allen and Ewing Engineering provides details on plans for a catch basin to be located in the lowest part of Lamonti Street. So made by Heidi, do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained, that's unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Very good. Good. All right.
That's the law. That's the law.
How to do that way, let's send that down the road there.
Minutes?
That's the replication.
Oh, this is the notice, okay. All right.
That's,
Okay, next up.
Next up, sorry. So the NOI, first of two, Doug Fredette, James Street, Lot A, map 15, Lot 458. So notice of intent was filed by Doug Fredette for property located at James Street, map 15, lot 458. The applicant proposes to construct a single-family house with associated utilities, driveway, grading, and landscaping within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by Miles Zager of Zenith Consulting Engineers LLC. Plan name is Site Plan Lot A, James Street, dated May 13, 2019.
Good evening.
What was yours?
Who would like the butters?
We'll give those to Melody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I just give you lot B as well?
No, no, no.
That's the one. Good evening, for the record, Niall Zager from Zenith Consulting Engineers. We're before you for a single-family lot. There's actually two of them, lots A and B on James Street. We're actually accessing the property off of Pembroke Avenue. As you can see, there's a driveway here that's accessing the single-family home. The entire property is a wetland that I believe Merrill Lee's been out with Steve Schmiel to review. Walk-in review is delineated here. As you can see, things are fairly tight, but we were able to fit everything to meet all the current zoning requirements, all plot area, setbacks, etc. What we're proposing to do is Mr. Fredette currently has a sewer stub on, an existing sewer stub and water stub on I'm sorry, an existing sewer stub on Pembroke. You do not have one on for water yet, correct?
No, we do not.
You're gonna be tying, you'll be tying into the main on Pembroke Ave as well. So what we're proposing is Mr. Fredette has spoken with Mr. Menard about the sewer and water, and we've come up with a game plan on how we would like to run it to service both properties. So what you see before you is something that has been discussed with the town DPW and superintendent. Besides that, a few things that we've done. I've done some test holes out here for this demonstrate soils. Even though there is sewer, I like to determine the water table and see what the soils are like, so the contractor knows what they need to strip out, what they're building on, et cetera, et cetera. So, as I'm sure you're aware, this area has very impermeable soils and high water table. So everything is built up accordingly. Basement is up out of the ground, house is built up. So that's why you see the grades that you have. There were retaining walls in the back here to incorporate and to be able to access into the garage that he has on the back end of the house. So actually, yeah. So James Street would be on the easterly side of the property. It was a roadway that was approved by the planning board a while back. That we're just looking to improve, but all the access, like I said, for this property is gonna be accessed off of Pembroke. Mr. Fredette currently lives on 52 Pembroke, which is the existing house here, and I believe he's looking to just build a house for his son, one of his sons, so. That's why we're before you. Be happy, obviously we have work right up to, we're getting very close. Pretty much the entire parcel is almost within a 100-foot buffer, so. Obviously, the whole area, I have notes on here about all areas, and I'm sure you have in your order of conditions about areas being stabilized, won't be seeded. We're proposing silt sock and dewatering basins for during construction practices in case there's anything that comes light, is when they're digging and they hit water table, what have you, they have a place to pump water, to dewater the water. Like I said, there is a erosion control barrier for silt sock shown along that limit of work to delineate for the contractor. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the commission.
I'll let you answer, I will do this.
Okay, let's start with drainage.
Yes. So again,
There's no detail at all about how you're going to continue James Street.
Well, may I make one comment that, that's not a city street, that's a driveway. It's a common driveway, that's not James Street, that's my property. The town has basically let me make a common driveway for those two properties. No garbage, no nothing, other than a 22-foot pavement. No snow removal.
Are you referring to this part here right now?
No, and the extension.
Do you
Yep.
do you pay taxes on James Street?
Excuse me?
You pay taxes on that property?
Well, they're telling me they're not, I don't, you're right, I guess it always belongs to the town, but they're telling me it's a driveway.
And you've been to the planning board?
Yes,
And that's what they're telling you, it's a driveway?
yes.
Okay, well, I need to confirm that with them, because they've never
I mean, I
mentioned
don't
it
know,
to me.
I could,
It's a private way in existence prior to subdivision control law, so you can develop off of it. They made it clear at the planning board meeting that they would never accept it as a public right of way, it would remain private. And Doug would have to be, charge the maintenance of everything on it.
Yeah, it doesn't meet any of the town standards as far as what the planning board regulations require with drainage, et cetera, lighting, sidewalks, street trees, bounds, all that. I mean, when the board is looking to improve these, you're looking just to improve just for access only. And it's basically a glorified driveway. It's a glorified driveway.
You
Okay,
say
well,
12 feet wide?
They need to explain that
You
to
said
me.
12
because I'm
feet
not
no,
very
it's actually
familiar.
22 feet wide.
Okay.
There was the one stipulation that fire access,
Yeah.
and a detail on the driveway to be able to sustain the weight of fire apparatus. But the fire chief also gave me, a letter regarding the fire hydrant being within a service area of the two houses that I'm proposing. And this was all prior to our last meeting with the planning board and the acceptance of the planning board. And the same thing with the DPW. There's a lot of ledge in that proposed driveway, road extension. So that's why they blasted 7 to 10 times to get the manhole in James Street. So that's why he's allowing us to utilize the source stub that's existing on the property, that was put in there when they did the sewer existing program, the sewer extension program, and the manhole to take both properties that way, along with water out of that area. Because it's just, as you see, there's ledge that crops up right at the end of that proposed driveway, 30 feet out of the ground. You know what I mean? It's, well, maybe 20.
So, Marilee, to answer your question, it's a very good question as far as the drainage goes. I completely understand. I mean, obviously, when you're dealing with tight soils, and I went out there myself, I'm a certified soil evaluator, witnessed them. You have a high water table, drainage is very difficult to maintain. The things, what I didn't do at this point, I wanted to come to the commission and find out what the concerns would be. Things that we could do to maybe appease the commission a little bit. Things like, because like Mr. Fredette said, ledge is an issue out there. So you can't put anything deep in the ground. Plus water table is deep, is high. So putting anything in the ground is not gonna function the way you would want it to function. So we could look into doing maybe some roof drains, something of that nature to try to recharge some water and try to, create, try to recharge some of that impervious area. That I would think would definitely help. But as far as drainage goes, right now this is all paved and then this is a lot of gravel here. So as far as the drainage goes, it's not gonna be a major change in that. The great drainage pattern is staying almost exactly the same, other than the swales around the house. But all the water is, you're absolutely correct, getting down into that wetland resource area, there's no question about it. We could look into doing some roof drains for both houses, if that's something that you'd be amenable to. It's very, very tight. It's very, very, high water table, so it doesn't lend itself well to situations like this. The runoff that you're gonna see from the generation, if I were to do a drainage analysis, the runoff that you would get from this compared to what's actually existing wouldn't be that much, because the soils, the soil data is so tight that the water's just not recharging in the current condition. So the runoff that you would get in the existing condition would not change much from, it will change, but it won't change as much as it would if you had a scenic site, not even close. So, again, I think roof drains would definitely be something that we could be amenable to try to mitigate. But other than that, I don't know what else we can do as far as drainage goes.
Okay, so if access is all from Pembroke, why are you improving James Street at all?
There is access for for lot B.
So even though these are separate, it's gonna help a little bit to
Yeah.
think of them together. Sorry, so 458A comes in this way, 458B is coming in off of James,
That's absolutely correct.
keeping it at 22 feet wide.
Yeah.
And is fire department asking you to pave it, or what are they?
Oh, it will be paved, yes. They're asking for a paved, and so it can withstand the weight of the fire department's equipment.
And they having you put a turnaround down?
They
there
didn't
too?
ask for a turnaround, they said it's not deep enough for a turnaround, they don't need it for that.
You have
Okay,
40
down the
foot
back.
wide.
And they can honestly, they can turn into the driveway, and they would be able to just get out that way as well if they wanted to turn around the driveway and lot B. So if they wanted to turn around.
Do you have lot B on the other side?
I do. Do you want me to flip it
Does
over?
it show them both? That would be more.
I mean, it won't show the whole entire lot, but it'll show this, I'll show you. So lot B is a lot bigger, but it obviously encompasses a lot more wetland area. Here's lot A here, the house is shaded out because I wanted to make the idea is to show for lot B, but this shows a little bit more of the entire picture here.
Okay,
So this is what was approved, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I didn't mean to
Go
interrupt. This was what was approved by the planning board, the extension to this point. This was exactly, that Romanelli and Associates, had proposed with the, to the planning board.
And when was that, the last time you saw the planning board?
January, I believe. Oh, prior to Christmas, I'm sorry, December. Yeah, December.
Early December, I think it was.
Okay, so the soils are too tight and the water table is too high to do any drainage off of James Street at all. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, anything that will be effective, yes.
You're saying subsurface drainage?
Yes.
Okay. So, in terms of what's happening on the street now and where the runoff is gonna go, where is it heading?
Right now, it's heading down through the lot, so it's creating a swale between the two houses as well as on the side of Lot B's house here. But basically what's happening, and actually it's kind of following the existing grade. The grade in the road is not gonna change much at all. This is super elevated, meaning it's all gonna be pitched from one side. You know, a lot of roads, you have a crown in the road, so you hit the center of the road and it pitches from one side to the other. In this situation, we wouldn't be able to do that because we wouldn't be able to get the water from would be the east end, upper side of James Street across the road. So what we're doing is we're super elevating it across the street and getting it into both the lots and letting it shut off that way.
Super elevating the street?
That's correct. So the road, basically the road's gonna pitch from one end to the other instead of having a crown.
Basically the way the natural grade of the property is.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's gonna pitch directly towards the back.
Back to the left.
That's correct.
Back.
It's exactly the direction it's going now.
Right.
Similarly, being directed in between the lots. This part of John Street, that's
That's completely underwater.
what I thought, yeah, that's just paper.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and on
that's
the other
good.
side is Ben's property.
Yeah.
Just for-
Just to show you this, see this
Yeah.
right here?
Ledge.
That's a big chunk of ledge right there.
And I don't know if this helps at all. The reason I have the house, it's literally facing Main Street, that the first house, it's gonna be a raised ranch type situation with underneath garage. And it'll be built up, but the back side of it will be backfilled with a lawn in order to give some type of yard for it, that 20 feet that's off of, James Street, on the first lot, I'm sorry, we're talking about the first lot. And this is where we might be able to do something, if we can figure out some type of drainage. This is all intentions to try to give a backyard to this property, because of everything that goes on in here, you know what I mean? It's really only a utility and a driveway access and, you know, a little back turnaround so you can get back out the driveway. This is really considered the backyard up in here, which we can attempt to do some roof drainage, maybe, you know, of something to keep the water that's coming off of the roof in that yard area, which will be, you know, filled property, and because it's gonna be filled, because we're building up.
It's gonna be filled where?
It'll be, you know, the backside of the house, the elevation there.
This is all picked up, but basically, because this all drops off, this is all gonna,
This
the house is
property,
built up.
I don't know who walked off the property on Saturday, unfortunately, I was out of town, but somebody was back there.
Yes, that's correct. It slopes, yeah, it slopes.
It slopes very
Oh, right,
quickly,
right,
yes,
right, yeah.
very
Right,
quickly.
down
yeah.
into
From
that.
Ben's it goes up.
Yeah, Ben's goes the other way.
Huh?
So merrily, Joe, and the commission, just so you can understand, the front, this portion next to James Street will be filled up. And then if you look at the contours, it slopes down into where the garage, this is a drive under garage, I like to call it, where it's gonna be at the level of the basement. And you drive your vehicle in that way.
So it's basically slab on grade.
It's basically
At that
slab
point.
on grade
Yeah.
because of the high water, hence why there's such a high, high water table, so.
So, how far is the corner of the house from the wetlands? 15 feet?
That's correct.
And how are you gonna keep the people who live there, or in the next house, out of the wetlands?
That's a good question. I mean, I know the commission has ways that you can propose, you know, ask us to do things, but that's completely up to the commission. You know, as of right now, we're working right up to the wetland line within a foot or so, which I know is, you know, DEP, as long as we're not within the wetlands, where we just have to kind of come in front of the commission for. If you have things that you would like to do, then that's up to the commission. If there's, you know, amenities that you would like to see, then that's something I have to talk to the applicant about.
Can I ask you a question? What do you mean by entering the wetlands?
It's very common for, a piece of property to have some wetlands on it, and then people will build a house and a garage and a driveway and a pool and, the swing set, and it just gets closer and closer, and then the house
Well, it-
changes hands, and that's the next people don't know about the wetlands, and so they move closer into it, you know, and the lawn gets bigger, the wetlands get
Right,
smaller.
right.
It happens every time.
It's pretty defined and pretty low that way, and where we bring the driveway into the garage, there's no, I mean, and, you know, I've been a site developer for most of my life, there's no practical, without filling 4 or 5 feet of, I mean, doing some serious damage to it, there's no really entering that wetlands, it's very low. You know what I mean, it is, and why we're doing that, and why we're making the yard to the backside, you know what I mean? So there's no real practical use of that area, especially on that lot right there, to be honest with you.
What I have seen commissions do in the past is they've had conditions where you just put a sign there. It's very simple, it's very there's almost no cost at all. And just say, you know, there's, you know, a wetland here, and, you know, please stay out. That, I mean, if you'd be amenable to something like that, I mean, it's a condition. It's
Make
just,
it a pretty wooden sign, like, so it doesn't look so ugly in the
yeah,
yard.
well, that's what I'm saying.
But, you know
That's
what I
what-
mean,
Well, or a fence, or stone wall.
Yes, I wasn't, instead, I was away too this weekend. Is it so wet that putting a split rail fence, I mean, that it would rot out in 10 years? Is it that wet on a consistent
No,
basis?
because you know, it's got a bank, basically, so the wetland, it gets wet down here
Mhm.
from the top of the table. You know, so you could put a fence on the top of the table.
There's something there, yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, those are things we've asked for, that or.
right, a split rail fence along,
Split rail fence is just enough to say, don't go down.
right, to give it some
Because you don't.
barrier, that's obvious.
You know, that's, we've certainly asked for that in the past.
Is that something you'd be amenable to, though?
Yeah, and that is I mean, I'm pretty much within any activity. Is there any place that I wouldn't, and my question would be that, is there any place that's acceptable not to, I haven't looked at it in this respect, not to put it, because I would certainly only, I would understand doing it along the wetland barrier around, you know, this paper street here, because that's a driveway and that's activity zone and you know what. And then up to here, I'm just wondering if we're getting into, I mean, how long do I go? Do I go right through the whole lot, 300 feet of it?
I mean, I would think that over here, it's not as close, you've probably got a 10-foot buffer, minimum 10 to, and more, way more in this area, that
Yeah,
you wouldn't, I
and
almost
that-
think lot B wouldn't,
And that's my question, would it have to extend into Lot B, which isn't the same situation, there is some room there, you know what I mean? As compared to Lot A is very close to what you'd call encroachment or whatever on the wetlands. I don't know the actual, from this, the flags, he has a silt fence way in there, but that's probably 50 feet at least.
Well, it's a 25-foot buffer zone, you've got that line that goes into the house.
Which one are you talking about, yeah?
That one.
Oh, that's a buffer, oh, that's a
Yeah.
25 foot
25
buffer
feet
line
from
off of
the
the
well.
wetlands, oh, that's what that is, I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I've done this. And that wasn't on the plan when I looked at it.
Flag line,
that's right.
yeah.
So it's about 5 to 8 feet in this area, and then a lot more here, it's probably closer to 15 to 20, probably closer to 20 feet here, and then back to probably about 5 to 8 feet on this section here.
I mean, I wouldn't wanna and limit them from, and that house, other than putting the size of the foundation on it, would just, we didn't want them entangled with conditions for both lots in development purposes. I might end up building that for myself down the road, you know, that one's really not been a lot of thought given to it. But I wouldn't want to take away any right to do whatever I wanted to the wetlands, you know what I mean? So I don't wanna, now, what are you saying, put the fence up basically a couple of feet in from the flagged area? And, you know, I would square it off, I wouldn't make it ridiculous, cause I wouldn't wanna chase it all over the place. But I could go right up to the, the flag line? Yeah.
Well, traditionally, these guys have asked for 25-foot no activity zone from the wetland line.
Right.
So you're basically half that far
Mhm.
with the house.
Right,
So you know that they're gonna be, you know,
Oh,
right up there to
Right.
25 feet
right.
to the well,
Mhm.
you know? So, I mean, that's why I pointed out, because I just think that we're losing a lot of wetland. And these projects like this that are so close, you know, it's
You're
inevitable.
here to protect it, I understand. Yeah. So I guess if, you know, I mean, if that's what you'd like, to make a noticeable division in the wetlands, in other words, a stay out, I'd be okay with a real fence if that makes more sense to everybody. I would always wanted something on that entranceway, that first 120 feet down that driveway anyways, just for a safety factor, since a car would be driving by it, so I would make that reasonably nice, you know what I mean? So I had no problem with that one at all anyways.
Just flip back to A, of course. So following up on what Mr. Fredette just said, so split rail here, along the edge of the.
I think you pretty much need to run it on this lot. I don't think he has much of a choice but to run it the entire length of this, because this work is right up to it.
Right. And I agree with you there, I agree, and I think,
It's just lot B is the one that we know, we're questioning.
Okay, so let's stick with A for a second here. So split rail along the flag line. In the 25-foot buffer zone, coming through the corner of the house.
Yeah, how close would that fence be to that corner, Bob?
Well, the flag is here, you get a flag here, flag line's right here, this dash line.
That corner there?
Buffer zone's here.
Yeah.
So
Goes to that
normally our,
corner.
our fence lines are, or whatever, you know, the buffers, the so-called no activity barrier would be going through the house. And that's not gonna work here.
Yeah, well, that's going through both houses.
Right, but,
Yeah, no, you wanna stick to this one.
yeah.
I mean, I think we would have to look for about a foot off of that line or so, off of that wetland line is what we're showing on, you know, where the limit of work is about a foot off, is from where we, you know, what we're proposing, so that's where the fence line. Basically, what would happen is the silt sock, erosion control would be placed, work would be completed, stabilized, and once everything is stabilized, prior to a COC being issued, obviously that split rail fence would need to be put in place of that silt sock. And that's pretty much what you know, how the phasing would work on that. Is, you know, obviously we need to stabilize
And you
the
said
lawn.
right now there's like a foot between the flag line and the silt sock.
That's correct.
So that puts it about 14 from that corner.
From there to there is 14, yeah, that corner of the house to the flag line.
It's crowded, even in the back, 21 feet.
Oh,
It's
it's
not that
very,
much.
it's very crowded.
The
I
backyard,
agree.
you said?
Yeah.
It's not a lot of backyard.
No.
Beautiful person, great drawing.
They made me add more land to my front lot. No. I got more
Yeah,
plastic.
Is that a setback line? That's even with the back wall
Yeah,
of that,
I don't know
with
where
that,
it's gonna stop.
This is a setback line.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Right
Remember,
there,
you're talking,
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty, so the setback requirement is 20 feet, we're at 21 feet. We always give a little bit of room to play, because of construction, you know, you need a little bit of room to play.
Seems like a lot of high setback for small lots, you know?
Yeah, I agree. You almost wish on a situation like this that you would be able to get, you know, that there would be some, you know, leniencies on something like this, but
Right, yeah.
it's difficult to get.
And I did discuss that with the building inspector on the setbacks on what we're required over there.
And what do you say, you'd have to go to ZBA,
Excuse me?
you'd have to go to Board of Appeals?
No, we didn't even bring that up, no, we didn't get that far about it,
You just said
I was
that's
just
it.
looking at what was in the plans, you know, I mean, what was in this specs for, building within the village.
Well, my suggestion, which goes against a lot of what we've done in the past, is that, so where you suggested putting a split rail fence along the driveway, do that. But in terms of once we get so along, so like halfway between 33 and 34, to 34 to 35, I know you've got your silt socket 1 foot. How about, where that split rail fence go up 5 feet? So that way, it's, the split rail fence goes up while the silt socket's still there. So, and I realize it's only gonna give you 10 feet between the house and the split rail,
Right.
but in the past, and typically, we're asking for a 25-foot no activity zone.
Right.
In this case, it's a 5-foot no activity zone. So this way your project can still happen. And that's just for,
It's gonna affect your driveway, is what's gonna happen.
well,
No, he's saying after the driveway turns, I
so,
believe.
No,
so, I mean, you can,
he's talking about this area right here.
so the driveway is, so that's a water line on
That's
the
correct.
W, and that's under the driveway?
And this
That's
is,
correct.
this is the sewer
Sewer
manhole
line.
with a sewer line.
Under the driveway as well.
Yeah, well, actually, it kinda stays just
Parallel with
outside
it.
of it,
Well,
and
so, where's the end of the driveway?
It's this line.
Goes
right-
into the house.
Gee, does anybody have a? That's the driveway.
Okay. So, oh, I see what you're saying. So your driveway's a foot away from the.
The driveway's about 3 to 4 feet away. It's the, because we need to be able to fit the utility in there and the erosion control in there as well.
All right,
That
so,
sill sock is about 8 inches in diameter, I believe.
so then the fence goes along the driveway.
That's correct.
That's all right. So in this section here, the fence goes along the edge of the driveway, but then, once you're past it, let's go 5 feet away from the socket.
Once you pass it, absolutely. That's doable, absolutely.
So any comments on that?
Once you pass what, where the
The
driveway
drive-
bends?
Yeah, where the driveway bends.
That corner.
Just to keep this
to
moving
give
along.
you a 5-foot buffer off of the wetland flag, and is that what you're trying to do, to get at least something,
Yes.
something, because
Yes.
you appreciate much more in most cases, I understand.
Yes. So, interested in keeping this moving along here, and we can go to discussion after we get a motion in a second. I'll take a motion for positive order of conditions with the condition that, a split rail fence is put along the edge of the driveway. The outside edge of the driveway. Until we get to the bend in the driveway, and then from there on, it's 5 feet away from the flag line.
To increase to a 5-foot separation.
Yes.
Prior to that, it's what, Bob? One?
It's
What's right there?
more like 3.
Yeah.
Oh, 3?
Yeah, so I'll take a motion for that.
I'll make a motion
Okay, and we have a
for
second.
that.
A second.
Now, any further discussion on that proposal,
Not for this lot.
knowing that this is a little out of the norm for us? All right, so let's please do a vote in favor.
Aye.
Aye. No abstentions and no negatives, okay. So that one passes with those conditions. that's 458A.
And normally, Bob, we stick to that 25.
Yes. So, for the record, I'm going to read this, just because we have to. So next is another NOI, Doug Fredette, James Street, Lot B, map 15, lot 458. Notice of intent was filed by Doug Fredette for property located at James Street, map 15, 458. Applicant proposes to construct a single-family house with associated utilities, driveway, grading, landscaping within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by Miles Zager of Zenith Consulting Engineers LLC. Plan name is Site Plan B, Site Plan Lot B, excuse me, James Street, dated May 13th, 2019. So this picks up from the previous discussion we had regarding Lot A. So, based on the conversation we just had about setback, there's no way to turn that house to match the buffer zone.
It's,
right?
yeah, no, it's the,
Yeah, this is building setback only.
What happens, with that is, what happens is when you do that,
Different part of the house.
it turns this too close to, because we did look at that, because you have this holding you here, when you rotate this, it's gonna push that back in, actually much closer to the wetland over here than if we square it up the way we have.
So we put 16.8 feet there, from corner to wetland line. This one accesses off of James. You said fire department is actually pave it.
Yeah.
You know, so the actual width is, it says 40 feet, but what's gonna get paved is 22.
anyway, yeah, that's, yes, that's
That's
existing
The
right
right of
away.
way, that's the property line.
And the other comment Mr. Romanelli had made earlier, just so I'm clear, is that the town would not accept that extension of James across Pembroke heading south, correct? And what was the reasoning for it? What did they tell you?
It's an existing private way,
Okay.
and there are different stipulations on how you can develop these private ways.
Mm-hmm.
But they made it clear that they would never accept that as a public right of way. They don't want any more maintenance of any of these short dead-end streets.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, Mr. Vinette's been paying property taxes on these two buildable lots for a long time. And now would like to see some return on his right to develop on these two lots. So when Doug built the driveway, it's not, you can notice it's not in the middle of James Street, basically, because it's his driveway.
Yeah.
And this way it keeps, no one else can develop off of that, the way it's designed, and there's not enough lot width on the lot to the east. You don't have 80 feet of
Yeah.
depth there, so those lots are not buildable.
Yeah, and
Even if he did, propose it as a Form C subdivision and have the town take it over, no one else could develop on it. So we went with the stipulation that would never be any more than 2 house lots on this basic common driveway. And really, he's only using it for one house.
It's pretty enough.
Yeah, it is very nice back there, but we wanna try to keep it that way, and to be honest with you, I've lived there for 25 years now, and my kids are all grown up there, and my daughter's gonna live in one house, and my son, we're trying to keep it open up to the family. We have our little, for that family compound joke.
with daily explosions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get that, but unfortunately, they tell me I do it to myself now, because I work there, so I can't even complain.
So that other corner,
You talking about this one, Paul?
is the opposite corner is even closer. No,
Yes. This is the closest to the
east, it
wetland
is?
line. Yeah.
Okay. But the other one looks like it may be closer with the silk fences, but it's just because of the fence.
I think it's just the fence, I think that one's actually a little further away, or about equal.
So, in terms of water and sewer, where are they coming in?
they're still coming in
It's still
from.
the same.
It's still the same, it's just,
Oh, yeah.
all you're seeing is just what's on our property, it's very, very little.
Right, water and sewage
That's
there.
correct.
That's the silk.
That's correct.
And this, and you said this is all building up?
Yeah, so.
So there's
yeah.
no digging and no ledges?
This is, I mean, and the
Ledge,
part of it, yeah, but the water table, we hit water, what did you say, 2.5 feet?
Yeah,
So we
we
can't really
bring
take
water at 2 feet.
So this will be a slab as well?
It's the basement floor will basically be on grade and then built up from there. So it's basically a walkout situation where you walk out of your basement.
No
Yeah, as
garage-
far
no
as-
garage on this one.
That's
No,
correct.
there's no garage on this one.
I mean, as far as stripping the soil, they're just gonna strip the organics off the top and the loam off the top, because you can't build a house on top of that.
But you have to go down
Well,
past
you
frost
have to
line,
get
right?
frost protection,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
correct,
So
we
that's
do
what,
have to
4
do
feet,
that.
right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's not actually just flat on the grade.
Yeah,
No,
that,
no.
as far as the basement floor goes, is what I mean, is where we're building up from. I agree.
Right, he's got elevation here around 100, 101, and you're going down 4 below that, roughly.
No, yeah, no, it's more than that.
Oh,
Is that correct? I'm sorry.
No.
I'm thinking out loud.
No.
what's not correct?
Oh, no,
The-
I was thinking of another elevation, I'm sorry, you're right, that's our garage floor elevation, you were thinking of top of wall when you were calling that out.
No.
And we're at, we're top of foundations, what,
109.
109, right? so-
101.5 is our floor elevation, so that's, so
Yeah,
you
we
have.
saw the slab floor.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so you'll be going 4 feet below that.
That's correct, to
101.5.
actually construct, that's correct. But what I meant was the soil that's gonna be stripped out is going to be the loam, there's a B layer that's gonna be stripped out, it's gonna all have to be stripped out. Cause you can't build a house on top of it.
Should have probably asked this the previous one, in terms of materials coming in, you stockpiled, is there much of anything coming in other than,
Well,
I mean, I'm guessing you're gonna have someone come in and pour the foundation.
right.
And, yeah, there's no piles of stuff for filling up, is there?
No, there's not very little generated by excavating is what you're saying, everything will be brought in and placed as it's being brought in, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
somewhat stabilized as, so there's no large stockpiles of material necessary anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Tight quarters. How do you feel about the fence on this property? Commission?
I think it should have at least up until this point here,
So you're thinking here to here?
yeah, at least.
What's the thought for south of the driveway in the house area there?
Here. And this.
Right over here.
And you considering, so, in terms of, so you're thinking about yard over here, is that right?
That's correct, that's what we're showing right now, we're showing this to at least have some sort of a usable area to be able to, live in. That's why that was shown the way it was.
What were you pointing out there? What area were you
I was going,
behind the house?
that's where I was headed,
Yeah, because you
so walk past me.
got room out here for lawn and all that. so-
Right, right.
Yeah. Any thoughts before I pipe up again? Any other
This is
thoughts?
bigger than
I was just looking at the driveway, looks like it's 26 feet long. They really need a 26-foot long driveway.
Right, well, we has to be able to get to the house, I mean, you have to be able to get to the, access the house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a car length is 20 feet, you know, a standard parking space is 20 feet long. So it's not really much longer than that.
That house though, you could move back to the line there, right, the setback line?
There's gonna be, we left room because it's probably gonna be a porch, he's gonna need a porch or something on the front.
And actually, even gave consideration to not having stairs coming down from the front, coming up the side, so we didn't want that extra 4 feet to get down some stairs. You know what I mean?
So what we're gonna have, what we're showing is
Side means
A
the
side.
of the porch.
That's
Yeah, we'll have
correct.
the side entrance off the driveway
yeah,
to
we
get up on
can't
the
come
porch.
straight down off the porch, to be
because-
able to meet the setback, we have to go down the side. But that's what we're showing there. On the other house, it's a different setup, different house layout, so we could make it work.
Yeah, because it's the back of the.
It's the back of the house, that's correct.
So. I don't think I have any other questions. So we'll take a motion, a positive order of conditions with the condition that there be split rail fence that follows this part of your silt line. Everett, is that what you were thinking? From here to here? Or just straight across?
That's what I'm thinking, at least that corner.
Yeah, it's just our way of keeping. you know,
839.
Yeah, so, you know, parallel with 37 over to 39, and then, you know, you get.
You got a lot of space on the side yard, so,
Right, absolutely.
I mean, there's plenty of room roaming around there.
Of course.
Parallel to what side?
37 across to 39.
I would think he's gonna.
Yeah, I would
probably
keep it straight and,
Alright.
I won't make it into a, too much. We were looking for the side yard on that property, other than for backfilling property.
Okay, and so there's nothing I can do with drainage at all? So you want drainage for the houses?
Oh, that's right. So you were talking about roof drains earlier. So, tell me more about that and what you're thinking.
I mean, the only spot we can do the roof drains on, this one we have a little bit more room, we can do it on the side here. We might have a little bit of room up in the front. Again, they're going to work in a way that, what's gonna happen is you put them in, and they're going to basically store the volume that they can handle, and then they're gonna overtop out of the T out of the roof drain. So when you come, the gutter is gonna come down, it's gonna be an overflow T, and that's where it's gonna overtop. And that's a standard, you know, application for these roof drains. So that's something that we can, I mean, it's something that we can do. I mean, that's about the only thing that we can do to meet the stormwater, requirement. Other than that, there's really no other way around it.
You say that because it's gonna overfill quick.
That, as far as because of the soil, and because of the impermeable soil, and because of the high water table. That's absolutely correct.
And how many of those will you be able to place on?
There'd probably be about 4 or so, 4 chambers. They're about, depends on which unit I use, but they're usually about 3 feet wide by 4 feet long by a foot tall. And what you do is you put them in, you connect them together, they're plastic chambers, you connect them together and put stone around them. And that's kind of how they work.
And you said you could put those on the James Street side.
That's correct. I might be able to fit it, on this one, I think I'd actually be able to fit it in this side yard here. I think that would be a more applicable application for it. On this lot here, on lot A, that one's gonna be a little more tricky. That one's probably gonna have to stay in the front if need be.
All right, so second condition being that roof drains installed as Mr. said, was just proposed. There's 4 sections on James Street side of the property. So we've got 2 additional conditions here, the fence and the roof drains. So, I floated that out there, will somebody make that motion? Will you second that then, Paul?
I wasn't sure if Everett was still thinking.
No, it's okay.
Well,
I am, but
Okay.
Evers is good.
Well, we're at the point now where we can discuss this, so any discussion, questions, comments, concerns? Otherwise known as further discussion. Okay. All right, in that case, we'll take our vote, all in favor?
I-
Any opposed, abstaining, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
You.
Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Yes, please. Now, we'll hand this off to you.
Okay.
That goes with
That's-
So you done with your visits to Baltimore?
those
Yes.
We just did our last one.
Married, yes.
All 3 of my kids get
Yeah,
married.
I saw Joanne.
At the same time?
August, October, and
Oh,
January.
why do you work so much?
All right,
Wow, that's great.
take care.
Thank you. This
All right.
is signed.
So we have an RDA, Peter Booton, 69 Cheshire Avenue. Request for determination was filed by Peter Booton. The property is located at 69 Cheshire Avenue, map 24, lot 21.
Yeah.
The applicant proposes to install a 16-foot by 30-foot, makes more sense than a 16-inch by 30-inch, in-ground pool within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. That's what happens when you've been in the meeting for a while, you make silly jokes. So officially, it's a 16-foot by 30-foot in-ground pool. Okay, so,
Mhm.
Change the direction of it.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
that was
Oh,
the
yeah,
last
yeah.
minute where we
Yeah.
were going this way, yeah.
No, I mean, wait a minute.
I was
Wait,
wondering.
this is the right way?
It's not gonna be.
He's been waiting for a guy.
It's actually going this way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Actually,
we're actually gonna be, here was the porch right here.
Yeah.
We're coming off like more of this corner section.
Right, that's what I
Yes.
thought, okay.
Go east to west.
This was the check for the.
so what's he saying, that this should be rotated?
Yeah, yeah, she's
With
on
the
it.
bus.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna go this
Sorry.
way.
Thank you.
No problem.
On the second page.
Oh, is it on there?
We
No, it
originally,
might be easier.
we went to
Oh,
stake it
oh, I
out,
see. Yeah.
The direction,
It's gonna go-
modified.
yeah, we were originally staking it out, my
Oh, so
wife
not the
and I
deck.
came to the, we wanted it to come like, from here this way instead of this way.
So it'll be there.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all going there.
yeah, it's fine.
It's good for 7-foot.
Cool backyard.
Okay.
That elevation will not change?
The backside?
Right.
No.
So it's gonna stay, that's on the highest side of the yard.
Yeah, that going up towards the water, it was gonna stay there, yes.
Okay, so, just for the record, would you state your name?
Yes, Peter Booton, 69 Cheshire Avenue.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've got our as-built septic plan, and then you've just drawn on the way we want the pool to go. It sounds like a couple of you were at the site visit Saturday and saw this and see no issues.
No, it's pretty clear.
How about that? Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to,
I'll make a motion.
oh, wait a minute. Negative determination.
Yeah.
Negative determination, yeah.
So is that from you, right, Ian?
I'll make a.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstaining, that's unanimous, thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you very much.
patience.
All right,
Have
good
a
luck
great
with
night.
everything too.
These meetings haven't been lasting this long,
So when I'm ready to get the witness, I'll come up to you and you can just sign it.
Mhm. Yep, bring it up and we'll.
Awesome, thank you much, have a
Thank you.
good night, everyone.
You too. Okay, you guys wanna start signing, or do you wanna?
Well, we have your questions, and I suppose we can sign, but it says agent updates.
Yeah, the only update I have for you, I think, well, I'll tell you that I'm spending most of my time when I'm working in the office on this stormwater management plan, that's part of the MS4, permit, the new MS4 permit requires that we have a stormwater management
Oh,
plan
wow.
for the next 10 years. So, yeah, so I'm trying to write it, and I'm hoping to get a little bit of help from Woodard and Curran or
Mhm.
somebody else. I have some money, I don't have much, but I have some money to give them, so I
Is
think.
that for residential?
Stormwater?
Is that for
Yeah,
town?
no, the
Separate
permit encompasses the urbanized area, as EPA has decided it's urbanized in town. So it used to be just this area down here, but now it goes up to big sections of town all over the place. So, and I would imagine, you know, if they update it again in 5 or 10 years, it'll be probably the whole town, you know. So we have to figure out where water is dumping into, you know, where the places are that the water comes out, and then test them, and then fix the problem.
If
you know,
there's
a
contamination,
problem,
right?
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we test for, total suspended solids and fecal bacteria, and, I forget what the others are. It would be nice if we could test for nitrogen and phosphorus, but I don't think we can. Yeah, I don't think
What
that.
else?
What's that?
Like,
Where's the
is it
runoff?
just, like,
The
just.
biggest problem in the lake is
That's what I was
phosphorus.
saying,
Mhm.
yeah, is that what you would test up in the lake to see?
I'd like to,
that?
yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I can get them to test for phosphorus, you know, it might be just total suspended solids, you know. So anyway, so that's what I've been working on, is trying to write this plan,
Mhm.
and then, you know, once it's written, then I gotta like farm it out to the people that I'm saying will do certain things, you know, and then it goes to the EPA by June 30th. So, yeah, so that's what I've been spending most of my office time on lately. And then, you know, there's a lot of this stuff coming in these days, and a lot of sign-offs, a lot of people building, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people do it.
So, but what I have here is South Coast Rail early action culvert construction work begins on the New Bedford Main Line. And I just got this, so, actually I didn't just get it. Yeah, today's Tuesday, May 28th, I did just get it. So beginning Thursday, 5:30, continuing through Monday, 6/3, 24 hours a day. Oh, actually, that sounds like between the Galleria Mall, which is in Taunton, and Cotley Street grade crossing. I don't know where that is. They didn't send a map with this, so I don't know exactly where.
What activity is this?
This, early action culvert construction
I
work.
had to sign and go.
So they're gonna start.
This
Did I
stuff already
send-
signed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Should've done that first, before we were leaving.
Trying.
Your next meeting.
For that. Yeah, so it's, so South Coast Rail, they're starting construction.
Oh, South Coast
Um,
Rail, that's what
Yeah, so from, you know, all the way from Taunton to here, actually probably be more, huh?
it is. Yeah, through New Bedford, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, from the other side too, it'll go from Taunton, it'll have to go
Oh,
somewhere, right?
yeah,
I don't know if it goes to Braintree or if it goes to
that might be the nearest one, right?
Lakeville, maybe that Lakeville, Middleborough line there? I
Yeah.
don't remember what it's connected to.
Let's go to Middleborough.
That's what I mean. It's going to Middleborough. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, how do you know if you were in attendance for these? Are these?
This is tonight,
Okay, this is tonight.
yeah.
Get that pen, get your chance. Does that can sign? I don't wanna sign. Can you sign with a marker?
Purple. It's Joanne's pen, I just picked it up off her desk earlier. I didn't realize I had it, sorry.
This is making for riveting television too.
What's that?
This is making for riveting television.
Oh, I bet, yeah. Okay.
We want Heidi to be able to get to
So
the next
that's the
meeting, and
Acushnet Company,
not have to come back here on Sunday.
and this is Antonio and Belinda Alfonso.
Anything really important? I mean,
No,
it's all important, I
updates,
understand,
no,
but-
updates, I have nothing, I really don't, and if I think of something that I forgot to tell you, I will text you.
Okay, I appreciate that, everyone.
All right,
See you later.
say hello to the bees for
Thanks
us.
for being here.
No, thank you.
See you next time.
Alrighty. And Joanne's on vacation this week,
Okay.
as you probably figured.
But we're getting filings again now? People are filing?
Actually, I don't
A
think
lot of
anybody's
it's just
filed for the
sign-off
next
stuff?
meeting.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of sign-offs.
Mhm.
And, yeah, occasionally people come in and I tell them, oh, you have to file, you know.
Mhm.
That happened today, and they said they would, they said it was an above-ground pool, and they were like 95 feet from the wetland, so I did sign off on that one.
Mhm.
But, yeah, no, if they come in and they're near the wetlands, then I always make a file. Yeah. But- Oh, Evelyn needs to sign this, but she,
Is that meeting minutes from before?
here. Meeting minutes I got,
No,
yeah.
no, but what Evelyn has to say.
No,
But
it's
that's
an
a
order of
pretty good-
conditions, but somehow maybe she had to leave early one night or something, I don't know, it's way back from 3/12,
Oh.
so. Anyway, that's,
If I see
that's,
it tomorrow, I'll have her come and see you.
yeah, that
I
would be
usually
great.
see it first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, and then I can, put that one to bed. So, I don't know, actually, it's only got 3 other signatures, so it probably hasn't even gone out yet,
Mm.
that's not good. Oh, it's for Ron Olivera. This might be the one, oh no, it was approved.
Okay. There's the other one that still has the issue, the one next to it.
Yeah, exactly, this one is, one of the ones on Manapoiset Road. Yes, not the other one. But anyway,
So no other updates?
so that's pretty much it, unless you guys have questions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few, we need to start getting out COC letters again,
Mm-hmm.
because we haven't been doing that, and I noticed like somebody who put in a new septic on Manapoiset Road, the house is now for sale, so it'd be nice if they applied for the COC ahead of time,
Mhm.
They might not, but it would be nice if they did.
It'll come up soon enough, though, won't it?
Right, so, yeah,
We need a new commissioner.
Yes,
we
we
need
do.
another commission member, yes, we do. Yes, we do. If anybody out there is interested, please either call us or call the selectmen.
Meetings don't often last this long.
No, this is a big, a long one,
This
huh?
is almost like 2, because we missed one last one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Although I'm glad you got to see, Ben's and Mr. Burnett's
Hmm.
on the same night, because I think that makes a difference. Yeah,
All right, so I guess the next meeting's gonna be June 11th.
is that what it says, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
So, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Do you have a second, Paul?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned,